Greetings and welcome to the Daily Devo for Wednesday, the 27th of September. Today, the devotion for today is entitled Jesus Feeds 5,000 Households. I've never heard that word put together. It's usually just 5,000, but households, he says. That's covered in Matthew 14 and Mark 6 and Luke 9 and John 6. So one of those rare things that all four of the Gospels talk about. Matthew 14:20 is the quote here today. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. Meals do more than meet our nutritional needs. We dine to celebrate, to conduct business, and to impress on a date. So it is fair to ask, how did the meal Jesus hosted for 5,000 Jewish families function? The first thing it did was illustrate Jesus' growing popularity. Although he had walked to a more remote location, the size of his following grew. Each of the Gospels reports the size at 5,000 men. This language uses an ancient metric that counts the number of households by identifying the male leader of each household. The math leaves us with an astonishing number. Some 10 to 20,000 people had gathered around Jesus. This number exceeds the local population, so it likely included Jewish pilgrims who were traveling the international highway that arches east to west across the Fertile Crescent and then south toward Jerusalem for Passover. The stunning number of people created a problem that gives us a second insight into Jesus' identity. There was insufficient food in the nearby villages to feed the swelling crowd. So Jesus provided a meal for them using a miracle, like the ones done by Moses and Elisha in remote places. And they point to Exodus 16 and 2 Kings 4. Consequently, the miracle connected Jesus with the office of Old Testament prophet and led many to conclude he was the prophet, capital P, another title for the Messiah. The third thing the miracle did was show Jesus' love and care for the chosen people of God. Another feeding miracle is coming, in which Jesus cared for Gentiles, but this one was for Jews. How do we know that? First, we suspect this from the demographics. The northwest side of the Sea of Galilee was home to observant Jewish families and the road that led to Jerusalem, which carried Passover pilgrims. And then is the number 12. 12 basketfuls of leftovers were gathered at the close of the meal, a number that reminds us of the 12 tribes of Israel. Apart from the resurrection, this is the only miracle of Jesus reported by all four Gospels. Why? Because it tells us so much about Jesus. He was a rabbi, attracting exceptionally large crowds, a teacher connected to the office of prophet, and God himself, who had come to personally show care and love for his chosen people. Our author doesn't touch on the point. Maybe he's being sensitive to the disciples, but they're the ones who worried. They're the ones who said, there's so many people, we've got nothing to eat. Send them away. Let them go fend for themselves, as it were. But of course, Jesus is going to use this time to teach them a lesson. And he's going to use this time to reveal the glory that is his in being able to multiply the meal of a young boy. A few loaves of bread, couple dried fish. This individual, our author sees this 5,000 men as representing up to 10, even 20,000 people in total. It's amazing. It's amazing. But this is one of those stories to go to when you think you're in a bind, when you think what you need is not going to show up, not going to be there for you. And you look to a story like this and you say, oh, God's got it. Or go back to some of those Old Testament stories, water from a rock, manna being delivered every day so they'd have something to eat, quail being delivered on one occasion so they'd have meat to eat. God is always supplying for his people. It may not be the big lottery we'd like to win someday, but it's enough. It's enough. He provides. He gives us what we need for our daily bread. And that's why he taught us to pray that way. Give us this day our daily bread. I don't need now what I'm going to need tomorrow. I just need what I need now. And the Father is so generous to us. He will provide, oftentimes in ways we just did not see coming. I know that Sue and I and our family have experienced that over the years ourselves. Where is that going to come from? Oh, look at that. God provided. God showed up in some way that we had no inkling that he was going to provide. And that's what we see here. This is Jesus' popularity growing. This is people being hungry for him and wanting to hear what he has to say, to see him in action for themselves. And what he does is show them how much he cares and how he can provide for those who follow him and are seeking him out. That's who he is, yesterday, today, and forever. He is worthy to be worshiped, and he can indeed be trusted for our needs. As long as we're not selfish, as long as we're not thinking, I know, God, that's not enough, I needed more. Nope, I gave you what you needed. Trust me. Trust me. Just like our parents did when we were little. We learned to trust them because things were there. They were there. God is our Heavenly Father, and he's got our needs in mind, and he has the ability to provide for us. Blessings to you today on this Wednesday. Show up tonight for prayer meeting if you can. We've got Ron with us, Rabbi Ron with us tonight, and he'll be sharing, as he always does, some very interesting things that come from that Jewish perspective that he carries with him. Blessings to you today.